The Toronto Maple Leafs officially signed Jani Hakanpaa on a one-year contract, which is going to cause massive implications towards the Leafs cap, and a trade is 100% on the horizon. We're going to break down this and more later on in this episode. Before we start, I just want to give a huge shout out to the almost 4,500 of you guys. If you're enjoying the daily NHL news and you want to keep up to date from all around the league, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. It's completely free and you'll be able to keep up to date. But with that, let's hop straight into the first topic today, which is the Leafs officially signed Jani Hakanpaa. Now, the biggest thing with this is it felt like this was never going to happen, but we see from the Toronto Maple Leafs PR that they did officially sign Jani Hakanpaa to a one-year contract, and it continues on to Chris Johnson saying this is a one-year deal worth $1.47 million, and it was a long time coming. And Casey, I couldn't agree with this anymore. What's your initial thoughts, and did you think this deal was ever going to get done?
Man, it seemed like it was never going to happen. At first, when he was first signed, we were really excited, and then the whole saga unfolded with, is he really a Leaf? He's not wearing a Leafs jersey out in the public. What's happening? But today, we finally got clarification that he is going to be a Toronto Maple Leaf at the start of the season, and I like this signing. I know a lot of people in the comments section are very, speculative about his injury situation and if this is going to play a major factor into his game this season. But I do think that this is a great ad, and getting him in at 1.4 million for a defenseman is a great number because he's just a great shutdown guy, a great Brad Treliving defenseman that's going to pair well with this Leafs decor.
And the biggest thing with this is the first reports that came out seemed like it was going to be a 2-year deal for Hakanpaa around 1.7. So it seems like maybe the Leafs are a bit skeptical on how healthy he can be. And that does cause implications even with it only being a 1-year deal. With the Leafs, this is projected cap without Jani Hakanpaa signed $400,333 just to go down to the exact dollar for you guys. But the biggest thing is this is not with Jani signed. This is not with Pacioretty coming in on a PTO, and a trade is 100% going to happen. But before we do get into that, I do want to kind of go through Jani Hakanpaa. See, Jani Hakanpaa played 64 regular season games for the Dallas Stars last year, putting up 12 points, but that's not what he's brought in for. You can see on the very right side, 123 blocks, 196 hits. The year before that, 234 hits, 248 hits, 6'7". This guy's brought in to be a bruiser and bringing him in to be a playoff producer. You can see in the 3 playoff runs he had during his career, 1 with Carolina, 2 with Dallas. Jani Hakanpaa in 15 games with the Dallas Stars in 2022-2023 put up 38 block shots and 65 hits. This is a playoff guy. This is a warrior that's going to put his body on the line. Casey, what's your thoughts of his impact maybe coming in on the Leafs team during the playoffs?
Yeah, he's a bruiser, and you need this type of guy during a playoff run where he can go out and hit the top players and put some bruises and bumps onto those guys and just make and wear their bodies down in 7-game series. You need guys like that, and that's what you're getting with Jani Hakanpaa. But when it comes to the regular season, I think the Leafs are more going to treat Hakanpaa like a Mark Giordano last year, where he may get into maybe 40, 50 games to preserve his health so that he doesn't go out with injury, because nobody wants to see that happen. So if he gets into, 30, 40, 50 games, you're happy with that, because then you have a guy in the playoffs who can come in a game 3, game 4 situation where you need to put some bumps and bruises on the other team, and that's his game, and he's just very good and excels at that.
And the biggest thing is we've seen this Leafs team and Brad Treliving go out and kind of just fill the needs of this team. We've seen on the defensive end, Morgan Rielly was the offensive defenseman that brought OEL in to be a power play quarterback, a guy to move the puck, and then they go out and fill the need of a big, rough defenseman that's going to be hard to play against. If you caught any Canadian games other than the Leafs games and you watched the Canucks, Nikita Sidorov was a pest to deal with in the playoffs. Big body, throwing massive hits, getting the crowd engaged. This is what Jani Hakanpaa is going to bring, but this almost leads into the fact that there is a trade on the horizon. Now, we did touch on the fact that the Leafs are going to be over the cap with this Hakanpaa signing, but that doesn't even stop there, where they also have Pacioretty coming in on a PTO. Now, when you do look at the Leafs defense appearance, and we kind of touched on how many games he might come into, you see Morgan Rielly, Chris Tanev, OEL, Timothy Liljegren, Benoit, and Jake McCabe, and I do think the pairings are going to be similar to this. Maybe a guy like Jani Hakanpaa comes in as a 7th defenseman, maybe an injury happens, but the biggest thing is someone has to move, and all signs on defense point to Connor Timmins. The guys we talked about, I think, are sure to be in this lineup, especially guys like Riley, Tanev, OEL, Jake McCabe, and a guy like Benoit. I know Timothy Logren's a guy that's always going to be on trade block, trade rumors, everything in between, but a guy like Timmins coming in at 1.1 mil as an 8th defenseman seems like a little too much of the team, and you don't want to lose him to waivers. But just looking at the defense to start with, Casey, is there a certain defenseman you like to move on from, or is it maybe two and you want Jani in this lineup full time?
Yeah, you kind of alluded to it. I mean, last year, Connor Timmins in the preseason kind of blew all of our minds. He played so well. We thought it was going to be great going into the season, and unfortunately, it didn't remain the same. And I do think that potential for Timmins is still there, but with the way that the Toronto team is right now, it doesn't seem like he's got the opportunity to step up into this lineup full time. So getting rid of this guy, I believe his contract's 1.1 million right now, to a team that he could easily slide into even a second or third pairing would be great for his career. And then you also have that 7th D role there for Jani Hakanpaa, or even some of these AHL guys. Get them some minutes up with the big club, so then you're not stuck with 8 defensemen, but you have 7 with Hakapaa and some guys down there like Tapi Niemela, who definitely deserves a chance at some point during the season.
Because the biggest thing is you're looking at this team. Obviously, there's 2 puck-moving defensemen on the left side. I do think Benoit's going to hop up on that second line, maybe playing with Jake McCabe and dropping OEL as a power play specialist on that third pairing. But I think the biggest problem with this is Timmins doesn't really fit. You have a shutdown guy on each pairing. You have a guy like Chris Tanev playing with Morgan Riley. You possibly have Jake McCabe playing with OEL. Then you have a guy like Benoit playing with Timothy Logren. So bringing in another puck-moving defenseman, I don't think is the mold that a guy like Craig Berube, Sheldon Keefe, or not Sheldon Keefe, sorry about that, Brad Treliving, or Brandon Shanahan wants on this Leafs team. We've seen this team, quote-unquote, being soft in the playoffs, so he wants to have a physical guy. So it seems like Timmins will be heading out, but it doesn't stop there where there's a possibility of a forward being moved. I mean, we spoke about the fact that Max Pacioretty is coming in on a PTO, a guy that's going to get in this lineup. Maybe it's for half the games, maybe it's for all 82 games if he stays healthy. A guy like Nick Robertson just came in and signed a 1-year contract with Easton Cowan Klein at this lineup. I think it's a matter of time where someone is moved. A guy like Pontus Holmberg could go down on the 4th line, moved on to the AHL. A guy like Kalle Järnkrok maybe trade. A guy like David Kampf. Casey, looking at the forwards, is there a certain player you like to move out?
Yeah, first of all, we gotta say a Timmins and Keefe reunion in New Jersey. I mean, come on, we need that to happen. But I think, like you kind of said, I think David Kampf is the odd man out here. He's the guy who's making the most money and is playing the least minutes on that 4th line, where a guy last year in Pontus Holmberg stepped up from the AHL, played great on that 4th line. So seeing he did that last year, you know he's good for it. You know you can play that guy and trust and rely on him on that 4th line. So shipping out Kampf here, to me, seems like the best option. I like Järnkrok. I think he adds a little bit of a grit on that 3rd line that you want to keep around. And just the odd man out here is David Kampf. Unfortunately, I mean, right now, if they signed Hakanpaa, they're $1 million over the cap right now, so something needs to happen. And if the plans go ahead to sign Pacioretty to a full contract, that would put him 1.8 million over the cap. So sending a guy like David Kampf out here makes the most sense. He's on like a 2.4 million dollar deal, so you have some little extra wiggle room to work with as well.
And the biggest thing is that Brad Treliving could go out and make a move. If he moves on from a guy like David Kampf, Connor Timmins, and if you include Nick Robertson, maybe to a team like Columbus that still needs to reach the cap floor, you could bring back a player that could fill out this 3rd line, maybe a new true center so Max Domi can slide to the wing. Maybe you bring in a top 6 left wing. Who knows? Brad Treliving has a lot to work with, and the preseason is just around the corner. What are your guys' thoughts on this Jani Hakanpaa situation? What player do you think is going to be traded? And if you had to be Brad Treliving for a day, what position would you fill if you had to move out a couple pieces and look for someone else to add to this team? Let us know down in the comments. But speaking on comments, we'll get in everyone's favorite topic, which is comments of the day. The comment today comes from Tobacco Bar, and he says a healthy Patch ready for the playoffs could be a difference maker. At first, course, I felt the same way, but it really felt limited regular season games, maybe 30. Put him in for the playoffs might work. Injuries happen. The biggest thing with Pacioretty is, yes, his old self is behind him. He's coming off an injury. He is 35, turning 36. But this guy, funny enough, has the second most playoff games, I believe, just briefly looking through, behind Ryan Reeves on this Leafs team. So just having experience, having a guy in this locker room for a league minimum is better than not having someone in there. I wish Phil Kessel was the guy they brought in, but it seemed like Pacioretty was the man. But what are your guys' thoughts on everything we talked about? If you want to leave a comment, you could be featured on Comment Today, like Tobacco did here today. While down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. I've been Mark and my co-host Casey. Take care.